regular listeners of this program will know that I am frequently critical of the entire notion of the quote-unquote sharing economy or gig economy, so-called in general, and of a couple companies, particularly including Uber. So people might expect that I have a black and white opinion about the fact that the shooter behind the tragedy in Kalamazoo, Michigan, was an Uber driver who reportedly took Uber fares between shootings. But I would say, while I do have an opinion on that subject, it's not quite as black and white as some might think. And here's what I mean. Uber has consistently rejected the idea of regulation to ensure that its drivers are screened for safety. That much is true. However, it would appear that this particular shoot, number one, we don't want to politicize any tragedy. And number two, it would appear as if the shooter in this case, or the suspect, I should say, Jason Dalton, was not clearly, there would have been no sign that might have shown up in pre-screening, at least based on what we know now. So I think this is not a case where, had Uber handled this differently, the outcome would have been different. There's no evidence to suggest it would have been, and we should be clear about that. Here's what we do have evidence about, which doesn't have anything to do with Uber at all. We have evidence that we have the most lax gun control laws of any major industrialized country, and we have more gun shootings than any other major industrialized country. We also should be exploring as a nation why it is that when people have psychiatric difficulties or mental troubles in this country, they are far more likely to pick up a gun and commit mass murder than they are in other nations. It would appear statistically that that is the case. Now, why would that be? There are multiple potential reasons for that. One of them may be the culture of guns. Another may be the availability of guns. As to Uber, I would say only this. They issued a very eloquent statement of their sense of sharing in the tragedy. There is evidence that the driver actually took people on Uber rides between shootings, which I would say attests to his insanity. But if Uber is really as struck with this tragedy as they sincerely seem to be from their statement, they might want to be a little less resistant to the various forms of regulations that could reduce it. Again, in this case, for all my attacks on Uber, not a cheap shot, merely an observation that regulations do have a role in a balanced and just society. I think we should all understand that, whether they're gun regulations or driver safety regulations or anything else, we should all share in the belief that that is the right way to go.